Michigan looked great tonight through one half. And then they didn't look so hot. In fact, they looked like they were going to blow it, but then they are able to make a bunch of plays, and they are impressive closing it out at the Breslin Center in East Lansing. And that is where we are at right now. It is just gone final. We're jumping on here. The team's just walking off the court, and Michigan walking off with a bunch of smiles on their faces because they have done something that doesn't happen very often up in East Lansing. Michigan winning for just the fourth time this century. They do it 83-71. They take care of MSU in an intense battle of Big Ten foes. And there it is. We're ready to talk about this one with you. Michigan played really well in the first half, and they looked fabulous in this game. And then you knew Michigan State was going to make a run, but you didn't expect them to come out right in the second half and just bang and put a big 15-4 run on them like they did. And Michigan looked like everything that they had going for them and all the nice things that you were saying about them, all that got thrown out of the window, and the crowd was energized, and the building was ready to explode. And in fact, Michigan State ends up tying it up with under 8. Then they take the lead for a minute with under 8 to go as well. And I think a lot of people thought that Michigan was going to blow this one. And U of M dug in and made some big-time plays at the end of the game. Elliot Cadeau, I'm thinking the biggest one, felt like a pick and roll coming out of a timeout and being able to find Morez Johnson Jr. for a jam. Yax was really good for most of this game. Cadeau was good. Morez Johnson Jr. was good in this one. And all of the stuff where you had Michigan on a little bit, they were so great in that 10-game stretch, and then these last 4 or 5 games, they weren't so great. And a lot of people questioning whether this team was really the, whatever, second best team in the country or third best team in the country, whatever, best team in the country, a legitimate Final Four. But they showed a lot tonight by being able to come back after blowing the big lead and to win this game in the way they did. So props goes out to Michigan basketball. They are riding high. They're feeling good. You should too, as a Michigan fan. We'll hit all of your feedback in this one. Michigan was a 1.5-point favorite in this game heading in. And there was some consternation by the fans. I was watching it online. I was refereeing. I was hosting the live thread on the Maize and Blue Review. I'm usually there on the Maize and Blue Review live thread, but I'm usually not putting the score and everything down and just adding some of my opinions. But it was pointed out that Michigan had gone to a zone in the second half when everything was looking really good for them in the first half, the way they were playing. More athletic team, better. They just, they looked like a way better team. And then they went to this zone, and it looked like it let MSU back in the game. And people were freaking out about that. And I think with good reason, because you're searching what happened? Why did it end up this way? But, Dusty and also the fans, this is not the first time. Dusty May is not a real let's call a timeout when the other team is making a run. You remember the Wisconsin game where they were throwing it in from everywhere, and Dusty didn't call a timeout. And, he said, I asked him about that the following Monday, and he said, yeah, well, we were playing well on offense and, not so much on defense, and we were trying to change it on the fly. But Dusty talks about the flow. Well, Michigan didn't have any flow. You could easily make the case for them calling a timeout earlier than letting Michigan State, roll to the 15-4. But when you go to the zone like they did, and you don't call the timeouts, and then you come back and you win the game, whether you learn from that or whether you tell everyone, hey, this is what we thought, this is what we were going to do, we were going to wear them down, whatever it was, it'll be interesting to see what Dusty has to say about all of that. It was a brilliant first half for Michigan, and the way they had been shooting and turning it over, you're saying they got to take care of the ball and they got to work the ball inside out. And they definitely were trying to find Mara down low, and he would post up from the left side, make a hoop. He would post up from the right side and make a hoop. I mean, he was really putting it on display. He was cooking. Chef Mara was. He had a big block early in the game as well. And then one of the big turning points in the game, certainly in the first half, was Yaks got called for a foul, and Yaks wanted him to go to the replay and challenge it, and Gus and Raph, who did not have a very good game as a broadcast crew, they were missing a lot of things. They can't do that. Well, they went for the hook and hold call, and Yaks was exactly that. And after a 5-10 minute review, they reversed it and gave Yaks the free throws. And then Michigan got the ball, went to Yaks, and he got an and one. So it was a 5-point play. Huge turning point in that first half, certainly for Michigan, who took the 16-point lead. And Yaks had a dozen at the half. McKinney was playing well, hitting him from outside, had the sweet baseline move. Cadeau had 8 points, and he was huge in this game. And Michigan was looking good at the half, but then you go to that 15-4 run, and it made it interesting, and then it made it even more than interesting with Michigan State taking the lead, but then Michigan making the plays down the stretch, able to win this one, and they moved to 20-1 overall and 10-1 in Big Ten play. And props goes out to the Maize and Blue and to Dusty May and the Michigan basketball team by beating Michigan State impressively and flexing their muscle late, making the plays like they did in this game. And props all the way around. It's time for our Maize and Blue Review Player of the Game. We'll look at all of the individual numbers. We're going to be able to do that. Yeah, we can. 22-12 for Yaks. That's why he is the player of the game. A lot of feedback coming in. Let's get to some of that as we work through it. See if I'm going to have to take a second to see if I can get this box score up. I wasn't ready for that. I just jumped on here, fired up and ready to go, Chase says, fighting to the clock hits 00. People clearly excited about this win. Sloppy start to start the second half, but a great ending. I think that it was predictable that Michigan State was going to make a run, not the way in the manner that they did, where it looked like Michigan was going to completely blow it. But anyways, when you have Michigan winning it that way, like now you can look back on it, and say, what the heck, was going on there? There you go. Now we're cooking here with the box score. Now it's looking pretty good. I can get that up there in 1 second. Let's see what we have. We've got more on here. Under par 68. He was the big, I want to say, Michigan basketball fan, as he was watching the preview show earlier today. He says, what did I just watch? Thank goodness they got that game back. Patrick wishing happy. Yeah, and I'll join in. Happy birthday, Tom Izzo, picking up that tee late in the game. Yeah, Tom Izzo looked like a sore loser at the end of the game. And you know what? He is a sore loser. Let's be honest. And I think he would say himself he's a sore loser. So say something like, tell me I'm a sore loser, then, show me somebody that's a good loser, something like that. But yeah, a loser and bitter and all of those things in a game like today. No doubt. That's what you saw from the sideline with Tom. Jennifer is calling it a good win. I would put this in the category of a great win. A great win considering the way Michigan has played in East Lansing. I know it's, different team, different players, all those kind of things, but the way that Michigan plays this game in some things, even though they're all different players and all that kind of stuff. Why can't I make this bigger? Okay, do two things at once. Doesn't work really well for me. Izzo skipping past May on the handshake line was trash. I didn't see that. I was in here and getting ready to go. I was watching them a little bit. I saw Yaks in the handshake line. I did not see May and Tom Izzo, but I'm just going to say I'll take your word for it. But we'll see if some others thought that there was a little pass by in the layup line. We'll have to see about that. Not that I'm doubting you. We'll just see what some others had to say when it comes down to it. We've got Michigan fans. Let's see. GDSPE talking about a rival night doubleheader 2-0. That's right. The hockey team scored early and then scored often. Ended up, was that a 6-4 final, I think. There's some Michigan hockey fans out there. Michigan takes Ohio State down in hockey. It beats the Spartans in basketball. Yeah, that's a good night to be a Michigan fan. A great way to respond after giving up the lead. I agree with that. Great weekend for the boys, no doubt. Great night for Michigan. Steve says he's sick of seeing Izzo cry about every call. Yeah, well, Tom Izzo's been doing that his entire career. He's not going to change anything. He's a Hall of Famer, and that's what he does. So it works for him. If you're a Michigan State fan, you say, "Oh, it's the intensity." He loves the game. He loves his kids. If you watch on the other side, I don't mind a guy imploring his team and yelling with his players and trying to get them to play and everything else. But if I was official, I've said this before, I would just put my hand up and say, you know what, Tom, you might get more of a benefit of the doubt if you didn't cry about every single call. Dan Hurley, but some of the best coaches do that, and the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And too bad he didn't get a double tech, and throw him out. But he's been able to do it, and I'm not going to spend my night talking about Tom Izzo, yelling and screaming and being a hothead. That's what he has done his entire life. So it's not going to change. And so when you beat him, you just enjoy it. You serve him up a 71st birthday present on his big day. And you know what? If it's any consolation, if you're a Michigan fan, he's going to have a rotten night. I can tell you that much. So that's it. There's Thomas. He echoing the thoughts of 68 under par, talking about being a sore loser at the end. So there you go. There's another one. Izzo walking off. What was Izzo mad about? I'll tell you what Izzo's mad about. He lost. That was it. Despite a rough start to the second half, they never gave up. That's right. I think a lot of people, the zone didn't seem like it was that smart of a move. Fears is a pretty interesting player. He could shoot from the free throw line extended, and obviously he can get into the lane. He's pretty good that way. He's a good passer, but you just leave him open. Once he gets, I think 15 and in, he's really good, but you put him out there at the 3-point line. What is it? 21-9, I think right around there. And his shot becomes very ugly. And you just leave him out there. And then Carr, the dunk fanatic, Michigan did a great job on Carr. He had a few dunks, and right at the beginning of the second half, at the end of the half, then he had a couple there at the beginning. But overall, Morris Johnson Jr. meeting him at the rim. Carr has the ugliest shot in all of basketball. You're backing off him when he's out there. So those are your, two of your best players, and those guys are self checks, total self checks out of the 3-point line. That hurts. That's going to hurt Michigan State overall. Zaime says, fantastic win. He did have his doubts when Michigan blew the 18-point lead. BK says that could come back to bite us down the road, managing timeouts. Yeah, well, we'll talk with Dusty again. Planning on going to see him next week. And, I brought up timeouts after the Wisconsin game. We're going to have to bring him back up. And he talks for a long time. Last year I was asking him about timeouts. And he gave a 5-minute answer on what, sometimes he calls timeouts and sometimes he doesn't. And I don't know. I remember when Izzo when he was a 2 seed and he was playing East Middle Tennessee State with Giddy Potts. And this was the first round of a tournament or second round of the tournament. And I think, 15-2, you're going to be in the first round. Izzo let East Tennessee State get out to a 15-2 run to start the game before he called a timeout. Great Tom Izzo. That was the biggest gaffe that I've ever seen. So the second half, Dusty May allowing a 13-4 run. That was almost as bad as Izzo in the tourney when it comes down to it. A bit of a roller coaster. Yeah, great first half, then not so great 10 minutes, and then Michigan settled in and made a bunch of big plays at the end. May turned to talk to Izzo, and that old-timer kept walking. Yeah, well, there'll be more of that. There will be more of that kind of talk when we have a bitter, sore Tom on his birthday out there. No doubt about that. You get to it. There is the big Michigan basketball fan, Michigan Go Blue 1324, huge W, and he's putting it on there and saying, Go Blue for Michigan. Yeah, this tonight is the night to do it when you have all of that. Let's see, can we get this box score up? Thank you. Talking to our associate producer, don't bark at me. So she's been allowed to come into the studio, and she's not great in the studio because she barks a lot. But, you'll have to learn. Let's go through these numbers. There's Yaks, 26-12. He must have had a couple late. I had him down for 26-22 with just a couple seconds to go. But, that's that's it. 26-12 for Yaks. 17-3-6 for Cadeau. That might have been his best game of his Michigan career. Morez Johnson Jr., 12 points, and he had just some great plays. They went to him. He had the biggest pick and roll with Cadeau late in the game. He had a couple jams. One that he got a pass from Mara and threw it down. He had another one where he was streaking down the floor and threw a big-time punch down. Love that. Met Carr at the rim a few times. Mara was big early. Burnett, maybe Burnett, I have to check on him in the postgame. Did he get hurt or was he just not playing well because he was on the bench and they were not going back to him? So it'll be interesting to hear about that. Trey McKinney was good in this game, 10 points. When Michigan needed some scoring, he gave it to him. Cheddar played a lot in this game, more maybe than you would have thought. LJ, he missed a 3. They went back to him. He made a 3. Gale's a problem that you hope that he's going to be able to get it right because Gale took a nosedive last year for Michigan and he's taking a nosedive now, but maybe he'll be able to turn things around where you're not going to cringe when he comes in because he looks like he's playing for the other team. I hate to be so negative about a player, but I don't know how they watch him and say that they want to continue to play him. he's providing very little, and he's a bonus for the other team. So when that's happening and we can all see it, I know they're hanging in there, and hanging in there with him paid off last year when he came up with the 26 points. Can you see more when it comes down to it? Yeah. Thanks for watching, Derek. It was fun. It was unusual. We're not accustomed to seeing Michigan go to East Lansing with Tom Izzo on the sideline and coming away with a victory. That's just the fourth time this century, fourth time in now 26 years. So let's give me a pat on the back for picking Michigan. Not a lot of people wanted to pick Michigan in this. It was tough to pick Michigan, even though they were the favorite. I didn't think they were going to be the favorite. They were the favorite. And then a very reasonable selection would have been, Michigan State probably. And this one, the way Michigan had been playing, their history, the recent way they've been playing, it just looked like a loss. But no, absolutely not. Michigan able to come back after blowing their big lead and win it. How about that? Thank you. Bless you. Bless you. Jennifer says every Michigan player turned the ball over at least once. There you go. So what do they have for the game when it comes down to turnovers? The turnovers at the beginning of the second half is what really jumped out to me. They just, way too many. They look like they tightened up. They were contagious. It was too much of that. They ended up with 13 on the game. Look, 12 or 13 turnovers. That's going to be Michigan basketball. Once you get north of 15, that's when it's getting a little crazy. But really, when I watch this team, it's when they turn the ball over and how they turn the ball over. Sometimes you're throwing an alley-oop. Those are all – it's the ones where this Gale has the ball and he's not, but it appears that he's blindfolded because he has no idea, court awareness, and then maybe he's colorblind because he'll throw the ball to the opposing team as well as he throws it to, as well as he'll throw it to his own team. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him again. Michigan covered easily on that one. All right. We know you want to be on the show. That's it. Thank you, Manny Gold. It was nice. It was there's no reason to, it's over. It happened. Jeffrey says Yaks had 26 and 12, but Cadeau was the star of the game for Michigan, 17-6 and just 2 turnovers. I'll buy that. I put Yaks as the MVP of the game. The Fox crew had Cadeau as their player of the game, and he did. I thought in the first half, he hit his first one. I was saying this week when it came down to shooting threes, get him in rhythm and shoot and flow and shoot good threes. Well, the first 2 threes, I believe that Michigan made, one was from Yaks from about 26 feet. I'm like, that's not really from the wing. That's not really the shot I want from Yaks, but he buried it. So then you're like, oh, okay. Just like I was saying, let's get it one from 22 feet with your feet on the line in rhythm. No, I'll take a 26-footer contested. And Cadeau was the same way. Raph was like, whoa, onions. No, he shot one from 26. Then I thought he fell in love. I was almost like, maybe he shouldn't have made that first one because now he's fallen in love with the three-pointer. But then he started making them. And then, he hit a big one in the second half and the pick and roll to MJJ, biggest play of the game again. Yeah, the dog, the show, she wants to be on my lap and she's going to bark at me and she's going to be a part of it now that she's in here. That's what she's going to do. She's going to be on the show, pawing at me. That's it. When it comes down to it. All right, we will let's look at some other stuff that we have in here when it comes down to it. And what do we have? Well, we have Michigan, all of these analytics and numbers that they were so great for those 10 games. Number one, number one, number one, not ranked number one. That was Arizona because they were undefeated. Michigan went to, they got up to 2 and then they're knocking on the door. And then they fell back to 4 and they're 3. You beat Nebraska and you beat Michigan State. This Michigan State one, you're going to tuck this one in your pocket. It's got to be really good analytically and in the polls. And now you have put the college basketball world again on notice. This is Michigan. They're back. Michigan. They are here. They are a force to be reckoned with. That's why they are in Vegas. Vegas doesn't get caught up in a little week or two down. But, Michigan was had the second shortest odds to win the tourney behind Arizona. And the way they look tonight at times, now you can see it. They, in this game, Ken Palm, they were number 2. They were the number 2 defensive team behind Michigan State. I could see them. Are they going to overtake Arizona? Who cares? I mean, about all of these numbers, I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan gets bumped up in all of them. Their offense, their defense, and in their ranking, and also their net. That's a quad one. NCAA evaluation tool where they were number 1 when it came out, and then for the majority of the season, but for the last 2 weeks, they've fallen a little bit. I mean, not much, but a little bit as they've continued to win and just have that one loss. It's Arizona, Duke, Michigan, Gonzaga, Nebraska. Well, they beat Nebraska. Michigan State's pretty high on this net tool. Michigan with a up arrow everywhere. Everywhere you look, up arrows when it comes down to it. We'll check that schedule in a moment. Let's take a few more on the feedback. I was just rolling through here. Finally, the dog has given me a break where I can concentrate when it comes down to this broadcast. Let's take a breath. There it is. It's good. Jim says it's always good to see the Breslin emptying out before the buzzer. Yeah. To think about the way it was going down before the game, there was a lot of video of Dusty coming out, and there was 50 or so Izzo members that got in there and were F-bombing them up and down, and it's trashing them. That's Dusty with all smiles there, and then you had Sparty Dan Campbell, the Lions head coach, coming in. His daughter goes to Michigan State, so he's a proud papa wearing the green and white. And then they're going around the crowd, and you see Gibby was there, all of that, but they all are going home cold and sad up in the East Lansing. It's great to be able to win on the road. It's great to be able to win on the road against your rival. It's great to win on the road against your rival when they're a top 10 team. All of those things. This particular pelt is a great one for Michigan. I would like to be on the bus ride home. That's got to be a fun bus ride. That's not so fun when you lose that one to drive home from East Lansing. But, man, you guys are sky high now. Harvey wants to know what's up with Gus. I think he hates Michigan basketball just as much as he hates the Michigan football team. I'll leave it to you to figure all that out, Harvey. Every team that any team that watches Gus will have similar type things that they'll say about him. He, I don't think he hates Michigan, but he had a bad game. He couldn't figure out. Cadeau the one time was 30 feet away from the basket. He's like, well, I think they're calling this one a 2. I don't know. You could miss one, but he had probably 5 things like that where he didn't know what was going on. And they didn't have a good game. So I don't know. Maybe he's resting on his laurels. He's the number one crew there. He's got all the commercials. He's got more money. And he knows what to do with it. He's got people talking about how great he is. And then I just think he's lost in his own world. And I don't know if he works as hard at what he's of doing anymore. He's just what do they say? That you become a caricature of yourself. Maybe that's what it is. I hear people railing on him all the time because he's screaming and yelling and making it about himself. And I get that. I do. I would like less of that, but overall, he hasn't really ever bothered me. But I don't have as much sensitivity to if he's like Michigan State and everybody's like, oh my God, it's very cringy to if you're a Michigan fan when you hear him blowing Michigan State and blowing Tom Izzo, and it's like, okay, that's enough of that. But he had a bad game. I'll give you that. Jeffrey says Dusty and the staff really play the hot hand tonight. They ran the offense through Mara, and Cheddar got a lot of run. I was surprised to see Cheddar as well. Burnett nearly invisible. Yeah, he was invisible. That's why so invisible that I wonder if he got banged up in this one. Willow asked the question, how important is Johnson for this team? Super important. Too strong inside, Blaze, great defense, and hits his free throws, and his mental toughness keeps him from making big mistakes. Yeah, he's when I watched him, this is like the 50th time I've referenced watching him playing the under-19s in Switzerland this year. I knew that he had transferred from Illinois to Michigan. And so then I watched him over there. I watched all the games and the under USA team, DeBonsa from BYU, Pete from Arizona. I mean, it's a great team. Brown from Louisville. And then Johnson, who didn't start the first game, but then played well enough that he was in the starting lineup the rest of the time. And all of the stuff, I couldn't believe how good he looked. This guy looks great. Ferocious, block shots, dunks the ball. He's got better low post moves, super athletic. There'll be sequences where you're like, this guy's in the pros. Who are they comparing him to tonight? Oh, Bam Adebayo. I did, Bam Adebayo was a hell of a player at Kentucky. He's a pretty good player in the pro, so that's not a bad comp. My comp was a hybrid of Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart for the Pistons. That's who he reminds me of. All of that. I mean, he's a fabulous player. And really, Michigan, their front line, they've got Mara. They wear you down. All the coaches, probably not Izzo. Izzo will be speaking in, he'll do the old Tom Izzo passive-aggressive stuff, I'm sure. He'll cry about his team, and then he'll just, and in Michigan, they'll play their best game in 30 years. I mean, he'll slip something like that in. You can guarantee it. But I'm with you there on Johnson. Mr. Martini said he enjoyed Elliott's ear-to-ear grin in the waning moments of the game. Yeah, he was enjoying it. I have to give props. I was saying that Gus Johnson. And what can you say about Raft? I don't know. Raft's I don't know how many more years he's got calling the games and everything else, but I've always liked Rafferty. But Allison Williams, I've always liked her. Actually, I've just liked her. I always thought she was really attractive, but she's a good reporter too. It's a combination. That's all right. She's got both of those things going on. But I follow Michigan basketball. I had not heard the story that Elliot Cadeau, she said, did not have great hearing. And she said that he said it's a bonus for him when he goes into hostile territories, that he's able to focus in. He can't hear the crowd, I guess. And I had not heard that. So nice job, Allison Williams, being able to come up with that story. Those are tough jobs when you're on the sideline. Everybody thinks, oh, she's just a pretty face or whatever they think, that they're just sitting over there, not adding much or whatever. But, she added a lot. She's good. I'll put her, I don't know, we'll start ranking sideline reporters and everything else, but the combination of everything, I'll put her up there. pretty high, pretty high. Little slip up on my part. Nice job. BD's calling Johnson the MVP in my eyes. Yeah, look, they've got the front. This is what's so nice. Johnson with any team would be an MVP, but he shares the front line with Mara, who can be very effective. And we saw him for the first 10 minutes of the game. He was the MVP. And then Yaks for the next 10 minutes was the MVP. And then in the last 10 minutes of the game, okay, let's do it over. Mara was the team MVP on the front line in the first 10 minutes. And then the last 10 minutes of the first half, it was Yaks. And then even though State was making that run, probably the 10 minutes to start the second half was Yaks again. And then it was Morez Johnson for the last 10 minutes. Rashad says Magic played at the Jennison Fieldhouse in 79. Breslin was built around 89-90. Steve Smith's last year at Michigan State. That sounds correct to me. I got the dog in the studio running around. Yeah, how about you just stay over there on the couch, all right? Yeah, you're messing with the lights. You want to get on the show, you can. Tell everybody what you thought of the game. Yeah, you liked it. You like the lights. How about over here? Yeah, okay. We see you. I need to get some treats. Oh, actually, I have some. Yeah, I don't giving me the history. I don't know if it came up with in the chat here or not. But it's a nice factoid or whatever. You know. We need other candidates for MVP. Cy Homer says that silly statue in front of Breslin is atrocious. It doesn't even look like Magic. Yeah, it's always that looks like, what's his name on Sanford and Son? Grady. It's always looked like Grady from Sanford and Son. Those statue makers, they're not the greatest. You see all that, and then you know whose statue is like perfect? Tom Brady's. You look at that thing, it's Adonis. And you're saying, wow, Michelangelo chiseled this with the commission to make this? Because these other like D. Wade statue looks like the Vecna and Stranger Things or something. There's terrible statues out there, but not Tom Brady's. And, not the statues that are in the Little Caesars Arena, the hockey player. They look great. You should put a statue of Isaiah up in the Little Caesars Arena. I don't know what they're waiting on there. Jay says they tried to foul out Mara. He got called for the same call twice, and MSU did the same thing to us and got no calls. Yeah, I thought, I didn't post it. I almost did. Throughout the first half, there were some nickel and dime calls. You get some of those, but I thought the officials actually did a good job in the first half for the majority of it. But that's not what, if you're watching, that's not what the fans think. The fans think that, and I was on Twitter for a little bit, and they were like, this is the worst officiated game ever. They're terrible. The officials are terrible. Every game, I think you just say that the officials are terrible. I think you sign up when you go on the road for 2 or 3 just completely lopsided calls. But, overall, the Morrow, one of them, they reversed it or gave one of them to Burnett. That was a good thing to do. Yeah, there were a few calls. I mean, it was a physical game. What was the one? Cheddar put through his when they were on a fast break. He got in the way, kind of threw a body check out there. One of the Spartans body checked McKinney when he was on the break one time. There was a few things like that when you're watching it. But yeah, aggressiveness if I was giving people, if I was coaching or if I was coaching basketball and poker, I would say being aggressive mostly is going to favor you. It favors you in poker and also in basketball. And Michigan they had to deal with the aggressiveness of Michigan State and how Tom Izzo is going to call it. Well, there you go. Yeah, here's some props for Allison Williams, who's doing a good job. Ooh, yeah. Smash has said he has a dream, and his dream is Michigan and the Pistons winning the title at the same time. There was a nice double-double. What's going on over here? What are you eating? I don't know. 97. The Michigan football team won it, and the Red Wings won it. That was pretty sweet. What was going on? Yaks had 26. That's the Yaks we need. He plays that way. Michigan is unbeatable. Ooh. Yeah, to have this is what's nice. This game, this win. Yeah, Yaks. When Michigan got Yaks this summer, they had their team, and then they got Yaks. Looked like he was going to go pro, and then he's going to go to the camp, and if things don't work out, I thought it was nice that he was even considering Michigan while he was working out, and then I thought he was going to go pro. But he was saying so many nice things about Michigan. It was still nice that you could get a player even to consider of his caliber to Michigan where they're getting it close. So then when they got him, I was shocked. I was surprised. Maybe I was shocked. I don't remember exactly. One of those two. Maybe a combination, surprised, shocked. Not totally shocked, but surprised. But it felt like that put Michigan in the mix for if he was really going to be a player that, and I get a little bit worried about up transfers. You go from UAB to a power conference and a high power team like Michigan. Was he going to be this number one guy that everybody was talking about? And tonight he was. He was. The last few games, people are like, he's hurt, his back, his calf. They should rest him. That's been going on for at least a month. People have been talking about that. Misses a shot. It's his calf. It's his back. But he was the real deal tonight. Go-to. It was the one time Gus was like, I think he traveled. I had to go back and watch. I'm like, what are you talking about? Again, Gus had a bad game. There's a picture of Gus jumping into the Michigan State football coach's arms. It's like, okay, what are we doing here? That's what we want to. Going to jump into the arms of Pat Fitzgerald like you're like a 5-year-old kid and he's your dad. That was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. Go up, shake his hand. But he deserves the criticism when you're going to act a fool, you're going to sound a fool and act a fool. He deserves the criticism. I'm not standing up for him anymore. Not when you act like that. That was some silly ass shit from Gus Johnson. Well, at 71, Tom Izzo, you're not gonna. That's part of the enjoyable piece of this. Tom Izzo. It reminds me a little bit of when D'Antonio had his run. And he was a real thorn in Michigan's side. Everybody hated him, rightfully so. Man, bitter D'Antonio with the success he had. But in the end, he didn't go out on top. Michigan sent him out and stomped him down. And that's what I would like to see with Tom Izzo. I want to see Tom Izzo riding off on any chariot and success in the tournament. And maybe this was the start of it. When you're 71, you're going to get questioned about every year whether this is going to be it. But maybe Michigan was able to put one of those nails in the old, let's send Tom Izzo out of here coffin. All those Spartan fans always thought, oh, we want to get one more for Tom. In Michigan, all those Spartan fans that are jumping around. And, I saw a clip today of, the green and white smoke show in Detroit, trying to bait Michigan fans. You guys don't like basketball? I got news for the Spartan fans. When old Tom does hang them up, maybe it'll be this year or next year or whatever, and whoever takes over there, and then they take this nosedive, and they're not going to be in the tournament every year, guess what's going to happen at Breslin? All this, the greatest basketball fans, you're going to be able to shoot a cannon in there. It's going to be empty. People aren't going to be going. Here's the thing that I've seen about the state of Michigan. If the teams are good, and I this is the way it should be. Back in the day, I used to think, there wasn't all great TV and all this great entertainment options. Look at this. You've got a YouTube show after a Michigan State game. This is entertainment. Back in the day, you didn't have this. So back in the day, I would give badges of honor. Oh, hey, you love your team. You're going, even when they stink. That's awesome. That's over. You got to pay $300 for a ticket to go to a college basketball game. You got to spend $300 a month on cable. If they suck, screw them. Don't go. Were Detroit Piston fans all a bunch of clowns that were showing up when the team sucked and they were in a 10, whatever it was, at least a 10-year tankathon? They almost lost me. I wasn't watching every game. You tune in for 5 minutes. Okay. That's it. There's plenty of other things on. I like that fans in the state of Michigan, they're not just showing up if the team blows. You blow. And so this, when you've got something going and then riding the other fans, it's a prisoner of the moment type thing you do. Sambo, I like the name, says basketball should be more like hockey in that aspect, checking dudes on the break. Yeah, there's some people that play it. I don't know if I've ever played where just no rules basketball, where you're out in the playground or somebody's backyard. Maybe people have a few drinks and you're just, bulldozing your way in. I've seen it, I think, played. Maybe I have played once or twice back in the day, but yeah. I kind of like the rules where, the play I hated the most out of anyone that I would have understood for a second if Yaks would have gone after Fears. When you're heading down on the break and you're going up for a layup and somebody pushes you in the back, and that's so dangerous, and it sends you off. It was totally dirty play. Now he got the flagrant for it, but it could have been much more. I understand that was Yaks doing a great job of not going up and grabbing Fears and snapping him in half. But I hate when guys do that on either side. Now, Michigan didn't, take any cheap shots like that, like Fears did. But I hate that, the cheap shots, when it comes down to it. Hockey is, it's a more physical game. Aggressive is good, but when not out of control, that's right. Manny says Dusty should have called the timeout earlier in the second half to stop the MSU comeback. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Dusty should have scrapped the zone, and I think he should have called a timeout earlier. I also think that McKinney should play over Gale and Cheddar. And I think Gale should go down to the end of the bench and maybe not play at all if he's going to play like he has these last week or two. I don't know how you get him while you're winning and he's not playing well. These are good things that maybe he can work through it. But Gale went the majority of the second half last year where he was a detriment to the team. He was a total negative for the team. And Dusty stuck with him and he put up a 26-point masterpiece in the tournament. Is that what's going to happen this year? Because now he's out there, and this is the second time I'm, bagging on Gale, but we're all watching it. But what I would like to see him do is send him down to the bench. If he's coming in and leaving his feet and throwing the ball to the other team immediately, then get him out. Let that bench coach him a little bit. Yeah, they can't. They're trying to win a natty this year. Letting Gale be out there blindfolded is not something that they can afford to do. And Cheddar, even though I think I'm Cheddar's biggest fan, and he did some nice things tonight, I don't know how much I want to see him out there either. I want to see a lot more of McKinney. A lot more. McKinney played 23 minutes and Gale played 21. I think is McKinney ready to play 30? I want to see Kaysen more than Gale. Although Kaysen has a little bit of that. But we'll work at it. Derek. He says, it's a pleasure hearing my thoughts after a great Michigan victory. Yeah. Hey, thanks. I appreciate it. Look at this one. People are making great points tonight. Michigan retired Nick Saban. Up next, Izzo. Let's retire this man now. Well, let's just think it through. Michigan's last game of the regular season this year is against Michigan State. And Michigan at home, what would be, let's walk it through. Michigan blows out Michigan State by 30 points. State limps into the Big Ten tournament. Maybe Michigan catches them there, blows them out by 30. Beats them by 12 here, beats them by 30 in the last game of the regular season, and then smacks them out of the Big Ten tournament by 30. 0-3. Hang that on Tom Izzo, and then watch him go out in the tournament in the first round, and watch all those great Michigan State basketball fans talk about how great Tom Izzo is then. Then they're gonna want him to retire, and he just might. And not only will Michigan be heading to the Final Four in Indianapolis and maybe cutting down the nets, but Tom Izzo, early round ouster, 0-3 potentially against Michigan, and retiring. It's not just the natty. The natty's what you want. And if you could say, what's the one thing that you want? Give me the natty. Give it to me. But along the way, sweeping MSU, and it was a bonus being able to pop them and then sending Izzo out. Woo! That would be beautiful. Beautiful. Smash must be, I was going to call him old. I'm sorry. It seems like I am critical or I take shots. I'm not taking shots at Smash. I like, he's my favorite. He says Parrish versus M&BR was every bit of a match as Hearns and Hagler. Hockey on the hardwood. I loved Hearns Hagler. I loved Sugar Ray. I loved Tommy Hearns. And I loved Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Cheddar. Cy Homer is the biggest Cheddar fan. Ooh, these are these kind of analogies that I like. Ben says 15-4 run to seal it. It was like Seabiscuit letting War Admiral catch up before breaking away for the win. Go Blue. Well, we've all been out on the playground, and it usually works the other way. Usually you let the lesser team, I was going to call him little brother, but that is kind of what they go by. You let the lesser team get out to a 15-4 run, and then you come storming back. But the way that was pretty classic Michigan State. And in some ways, as you sit here and think about it now that it's an hour after the game, having Michigan State use all of their Tom Izzo sorcery and everything with the Breslin Center, have that run, come back not only to tie it, but take the lead. Michigan fans think, God damn it. I've seen this so many times, but no. No, it's not going to happen. It feels different. Dusty's team being able to dig down and make those plays. These are the kind of things, because in the tournament, there's going to be something like this, big runs. Fans bitching about the defense from Dusty, the zone, fans bitching about the 15-4, but the team finding ways to make plays left and right. Jay is reveling in the victory, talking about going to the Brez for a top 10 matchup on Izzo's 71st and leaving in first place, leaving the Breslin in first place. Enough said. Rez going into the Brez. Lot of nice stuff there. It's all about how you close a game. Feels good to get those two big wins. Well, ultimately, it is about just winning. But it's how you feel, though. And that's been the thing about this team. This team against Oakland in the opener, they were awesome. But then there were a couple games where they were too close. People were like, ooh, this game's too close. Wake, too close. TCU, too close. Then they went on that 10-game run where they were beating teams by 20, 30. Vegas went out there and dropped the nuclear bomb. When you hear people say that spoiled Michigan fans, well, yeah, you thought that this was the greatest team of all time, that they were going to take no prisoners, that they were just going to destroy the opposition. Well, it's come back, and it's been more like we are used to seeing college basketball played. But this finding a way to win, yeah, that's a very good thing to have. Obviously, you want it. Luke wimped out. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, you get the history of it. Not you wimping out, Luke. The Michigan basketball team. You had the history of what they've had. Don calls it a beautiful win. They tried everything and couldn't beat us and still failed. That's right. That part I'm with you on. Now let's get to that upcoming schedule. Is brought to you by the Maize and Blue Review. Give yourself or that U of M fan in your life the gift of the Maize and Blue Review. Go to on3.com. Get immediate access. Hit that subscribe button. You get in there. I'll be there all weekend. I'm there all weekend talking Michigan basketball. Talking about the next game against Penn State. Looking at all of the numbers. Looking at the month of, we're ready to turn the calendar and what's in store for Michigan. And so with that, let's get to the upcoming schedule. Oh, look at this thing. I mean, if you're watching right now on YouTube, you just got to sit back and say, wow, look at the month of February. Look at these games. Penn State on Thursday. Ohio State a week from tomorrow in a 1:00 game. Super Bowl Sunday. Get your Super Bowl Sunday started early with Michigan at Ohio State. You know you're a Michigan basketball fan when you're looking forward more to Super Bowl Sunday, 1:00, Michigan at Ohio State, than you are the Seahawks and Pats. The game will be over 3-ish. Super Bowl don't even start till 6:30. 3, 4, 5, 6. You could do a 3-hour post game. At Northwestern, I have to admit, I don't know much about the Cats this year. UCLA, I know they beat Purdue. And then at Purdue, look at that, at Purdue and then Duke. I'm admiring the schedule. I feel like I want social media. Remember when the Fab Five was it? Yeah, I think it was the documentary they did. Did they ask them all the question? What were you thinking about? What was the one word that came to mind when you thought about Duke? Juwan said, pretty boys. And then, what did Jimmy King said? Bitches. I think he said something like that. Let's have a redo of that. What do you think of Duke? Yaks? Pretty boys. They could use the same lines. They all still apply, I think, when it comes down to it, don't they? Pretty boys. The Michigan ladies play on Super Bowl Sunday 2 at 3. They were also awesome. Oh, wait a second. So you're telling me on Super Sunday that we have a doubleheader of Michigan basketball. Michigan at 1, the women at 3, and then the Super Bowl at 6? Now you're talking to me. Wait a second. I like stuff like this. So Michigan holds Michigan State to 71 points. And Ben is pointing out that Tom Izzo turned 71 today in a losing effort. Wow. No, I had not noticed that until right now, Ben, but I'm going to say props to you for noticing that. Andres is out in the Pacific Rim somewhere. It's probably Saturday night, wherever he's at. Probably played 72 holes today. Went to the beach, looked at his phone, said 20 below in Michigan. But he's LOLing Tom Izzo. Big dubs. That's it. All right. Thanks so much for watching this one. This was nice. This was nice to have Michigan get back and feel like they're back to. They were never derailed from the national championship, but the locomotive that was churning, it was just, it was bogged down a little bit. But now, man, that thing is back and chugging. The smoke is billowing out there and on the side of the road as Tom Izzo and the Spartans. Oh, Tom Izzo getting a tee on his 71st birthday. Oh, it doesn't get much better than that, folks. It really, it would have been, they should have thrown him out, but 71 years old. They should have been giving him, he should have had a couple tees in the first half. I knew he was going to blow his top when they reversed the hook and hold on Yaks. I wish they would have had the Izzo cam over there. His face, that 71-year-old face. I wish they would have had they said, hey, Tom, can we put one of those gadget rings or whatever those things are called? And we'll look at all your vitals and everything that's going on. And that thing would have been just kind of, it would have been hot. He's fired up and everything during the game. But as soon as that reversal hit, whatever, all the different things, all of his different glands, heart rate and everything else, that thing would have shot to the moon. And a second half, and when they were giving him the tee, that thing would have been way up there too. Tom may have been arrogant enough to say, all right, I'll wear that. He's thinking he's always going to win. 71st birthday. Raph will be over there bathing. The Gus will be over there jumping in his lap. Oh, they probably had that birthday cake. Oh, I bet they had. It reminds me a little bit of when they put that banner up. They had a banner. State had to win. And they put the banner up in the rafters, but they lost. So there was no unfurling of the banner, but you would take a shot of the banner up there. And Izzo was like, I didn't know that they were putting it up there. Oh, I'm sure the Spartan fans of all those SID, they got a cake for Tom Izzo in the back. They're all ready to roll it out there. Do you think they're singing happy birthday to Tom? Oh, that cake. They should just give that cake to Dusty in Michigan. They would have enjoyed it on the way back home. It was enjoyable. It's, the team has the 24-hour rule, right? Yay, go over, enjoy it. But I think they just take the whole weekend and enjoy it, the victory. This was a needed victory for Michigan. They've got their sights set on the Natty, and it's so hard to win one. You get the one and done. When you get into the tournament, so many things can happen. So you were a little down by watching them over the past few games, but that's all water under the bridge now. So the next close shave they have, but for a while. This team's back. They're back in the driver's seat, and they look like the best team in the country. A long time, it was like, they're going to win it. They're going to the Final Four. There was like, it's a lot of good team. They might not. Now it feels like they're back there. Back where you feel great about them. That's what's going on. Thank you for joining us. Luke, they can win however they can. I believe it's good. You're back, Luke. In the tournament, that's the way I get it. I don't care how they win it. You survive in advance during the season. Even for some of the great, very rarely do you have this team that just plows through everyone. So hopefully what we saw in a lot of January, if that is the worst of it, what we saw in January. Oh, they're winning too close. Could have lost to Penn State, didn't. Could have lost to Nebraska, didn't. They could have lost to Ohio State. There's a lot of games in there. They did lose to Wisconsin. Dusty didn't call his timeouts. If the worst of it is complaining about Dusty not calling timeouts or going to a zone and when they win by double figures, then you are doing pretty good out there. Thanks so much. See you over on the Maize and Blue Review. Join up. Party it's not just getting started, but man, we got February and we got March, and it is set up to be special. And with what happened tonight, I feel a lot more confident in saying that. 83-71. That is the final. Michigan, they moved to 20-1 overall and 10-1 in the Big Ten. Those are all good things, obviously. Take care and have a great weekend.